Friday to have?
Yeah, we felt like it was. You know, we certainly could have went indoors if we wanted to, but we just felt like, again, you know, us being able to, you know, handle a football that was wet. We hadn't had many opportunities to do that. You never know what the weather conditions are going to be on game day, and really try to block out the distraction of the weather. And
guy among your group that has a knack for that, for catching a wet ball?
No, not really. We didn't have many drop balls today. You know, I cranked the machine up pretty high just because Cam has such a strong arm. And when we first get out there to test it, the first guy really don't want to ease out there because they don't know whether it's a split finger or a fastball. But so I try to see who's going to be tough enough. And usually the guys that go up there first, you know, Cody Burns and Darvin Adams, they jump up there right off the bat and Chizik. So and it kind of, you know, culminates into the field. But not, I couldn't say one guy's different. I tell you, who's got really great hands is my man Lutzenkirk. He can catch the ball, whether it's wet, dry, where you can drop it out of a plane. You know, he's going to catch it. So I try to tease myself. It's a shame the tight ends got the best hands on the team. They can't stand that now. That bothers them.
one of the things that makes Gus so effective and really at every level that he's been on is he's very creative. You know, he studies the game, very creative. He's as hard a worker as I've ever been around. You know, a combination of all those things certainly is going to lend itself into a guy that's successful. You know, and I think that's why he's very successful. He pays a lot of attention to the details and the things that matter, and you know, he buries himself in the game. You know, and I think to be really, really good at your trade, you know, that's what you have to do. You know, as an offensive defensive coordinator. You know, and I think he does it really at its highest level.
Yeah, his football mind doesn't have an off switch, that's for sure. I may get a text from him on a Saturday afternoon at 2:30 and say, hey, have you thought about this? Or we need to make sure that we do this. His mind's always on, and I think that's one of the things that makes him great is that he's just so driven towards success and so focused in his approach. I've never been around one that's done that. Number one, it's incredibly difficult just to start as a true freshman. Number two, to have been able to do that consistently for all those games without missing any, that's pretty unbelievable for a guy to have played in the trenches as many games as he has and not missed any. I think that's a very significant accomplishment. But what I really appreciate is what he said about it at the beginning of the year. He said it's not the number of starts, it's the quality of the starts. That said something to me about how he was looking at it.
Well, he's probably the strongest out of all the ones we've seen. And, you know, we've seen the AJs, with, you know, 3 kids at Arkansas, the kid at Kentucky, the Jeffries kid. But he's to me, he's a little bit more powerful than all the kids that we've seen. You know, he's what, 6'4", 6'5", and he's fast. He's strong. You know, you can see him out there strong arming defensive back. So he's a difference maker. And they're doing a lot more than this year than they have in the past. It's like he's more of a go-to guy than we've seen. Like last year, I thought this time he only had maybe 500 or 600 yards. This year he's approaching on that 1,000-yard mark. And then they throwing the ball in some points where, you know, you're thinking he's not going to get it, and the quarterback is singing it in there. And he's making some big-time plays. So, yeah, he's as good as we've seen.
Curtis, talk about the when you look at your tailbacks, if you make 2 of them 1, that's a pretty good number. Has that worked out almost like you hoped it would?
In a sense, you know, we just the big addition was the big tailback, the big quarterback. That was a big addition. that accounts for about 130 per game. But we knew Mike was a great runner between the tackles. We knew Ontario was a great perimeter runner. The key this year is that Ontario has stayed healthy, and so that's enabled us to utilize his skills, you know, for 11 consecutive weeks. And he's made big plays for us in the running game.
My first reaction is, again, you know, as I've said, even with the players that are up for different awards, to pin that on one guy or to think that one guy is really responsible for that is just not true. It's all the assistant coaches, it's all the players. Those are all team awards, and I think at least we all try to look at it like that. When you have success, different people are brought up for different different awards. So it's nice that for our players, coaches, whoever might get recognized, it's certainly nice. But again, by no means, in no way is that an award that directly reflects one guy, in my opinion.
You got plenty to do that?
I got some wet gum. You can get old school or you can get BCS. Which one you want? See, that's BCS right there. It's old school right there. Let's put that on the table. It's kind of wet though.